Good evening, friends and colleagues. We will be talking about some of the legal, ethical, and social issues that can be associated with incorporating technology into the classroom. So to begin, let's start with legal issues. Um, let's start with fair use. Fair use basically has to do with the implementation of copyright, which are laws that are put in place to prevent anyone other than an original author or creator from profiting off of an original work. The only time that it would be acceptable to use anything that is copyrighted is for criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. And even so, it is restricted by four parameters, which are the purpose and character of use. So why would you need to use this information? For what are you using it? The nature of the copyrighted work. Is it a scholarly article? Is it a book? Is it a movie? Um, the amount and sustainability of the portion used, so how much of this original work did you use, and the effect of use upon potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. So what came out of it after you used this? Did you receive any compensation or monetary benefit from it? And depending on what the medium is, it has different parameters. So if the medium that you're using is text, you can only use up to 10% or 1,000 words from it. If it is a poem, under or at 250 words, you can use the whole poem, but any more than that, no, you can only use up to 250 words. For music, you can use up to 10% or about 30 seconds, give or take, of the composition. For images, a whole picture is allowed to be used, but no more than 10% for 5 images by an individual artist may be used. And for films and videos, up to 10% or only about 3 minutes at a time may be used from that medium. So Creative Commons has to do with copyright. Creative Commons is a license that people who want their works to be shared can use. It reduces the legal cost of copying. It reduces the legal costs that are usually associated with achieving copyright material. Usually you have to pay a fee and go through a whole legal situation, but this way you're able to share your creative work. It's easier to access for other people, but it still adheres to the parameters of fair use. So you are not infringing on anyone's copyright. Some tips for teachers on this are just to follow the policies. Um, Always make sure to follow the proper procedures so that you can set an example for the students. A good example of a way to explain this for maybe younger students is to have a mini class discussion or a lesson where you present a scenario to the students and ask whether or not the situation is fair. So let's say you tell them that one student draws a really nice picture and another student takes that picture and gives it to the teacher and says that they drew it, so the teacher gives them a sticker for it. You would let them decide whether that's fair or not fair, and you could use that as a segue to begin a discussion on the proper procedures and policies for following copyright, but in a more developmentally appropriate way. Some ethical issues with using technology in the classroom are copyright infringement, whether it is intentional or unintentional. You have to follow the policies. Privacy violations in regards to personal information that is accessible online or by using certain technologies. Like in schools, for example, classroom attendance records, grade books, student information such as addresses, phone numbers, all of that is personal information. Um, Misuse of learning technology and equal accessibility for those who may have disabilities as well as those who may not have the same technological knowledge. You have to make sure that you are reaching the widest range possible for your audience. Diversity. When creating new technologies, keep in mind that people come from different economic and cultural and social backgrounds, and that people, are different, and you have to keep your prejudices in check in regards to these people and make sure that you aren't projecting any biases onto them about how they would use technology, whether or not they have access to this technology. Just keep them in mind and be inclusive. And professionalism and confidence. As the number of technologically savvy people in the workforce increase, keep in mind your own knowledge and whether or not you have the credentials to be teaching and using certain technologies. Otherwise, you could potentially be setting your students up because you would be providing them with false information. So I have a link to a website where they provide um, facts and statistics on the use of technology in America. So about 84% of all American adults use the internet. But this is some factors that can change these results are age differences, class differences, racial and ethnic differences, as well as community differences. So as you can see in this first graph, young adults are more likely to use the internet, but older people are they're rapidly getting used to the new technology and learning how to use it. In 2000, 70% of young adults use the internet, and that figure has steadily grown to 96%. 14% of seniors use the internet in 2000, now about 58% do. So that is a large increase. Um, and here, this next graph shows that the less educated adults are catching up. But overall, the more education you have, the more likely it is that you use technology. Adults with a college or graduate degree are most likely to use the internet, with about 95% saying that they're internet users. And for those who have not completed high school, about 66% now use the internet. So yeah, and that's still below where college graduates were in 2000, which was 75%. This graph shows that the higher the income, the more likely you are to use the internet because you have the money available to buy the technology, buy the accessories that come with it. If it's broken, you have the money to get it fixed. It's easier to upkeep and stuff like that. And here you can see that it's divided by race and ethnicity. English-speaking Asian Americans are more likely to report internet usage. So in December 2005, they began offering surveys of all U.S. population in Spanish as well as English. And here you can see that Asians were at about 72% in 2000, and now they're all the way up at about 97%. And at the lowest, we have the Black non-Hispanics who were at 38% in 2000. And as of 2014, about 78% of them. So it's a great increase, but it's still below the Asian English-speaking population of America. And internet usage by community type. Rural citizens are less likely to use the internet because, they have less access. In 2000, 56% of suburban residents and 53% of urban residents and 42% of rural residents were internet users. Today, it's 85% of suburban residents, 85% of urban residents, and 78% of rural residents. So it has greatly increased since 2000. But the closer you are to cities and technology, the easier it is to use. And it is also separated by gender. In 2000, in 2000, in 2000, men were more likely to use the internet, but as time goes on, both men and women are about equally as likely to use the internet. So that one is not as significant. And some tips for teachers for teaching ethical issues in use when using technology in the classroom are to closely monitor technology use to make sure that all students are using the technology correctly and not violating any copyright violations, and that they are able to use the technology as well as their other classmates. So if they need help, that is readily available to them. Have handouts sent home for parents. So they're notified about the policies at school, and they know what's going on, and also have a class discussion with the students so that they know how to use the technology. They have a better idea of what's going to be going on in the classroom. Make use of computer labs. If your school or if you are stationed at a school that is located in a lower socioeconomic neighborhood, make sure that you know whether or not technology is available. They may not have the money to afford computers for all students, so make use of your computer lab. And if even if your school doesn't have a computer lab, or if the computer lab doesn't have enough computers for all the students, you can make it a point to make a trip to the local library as an alternative. And this would probably even excite the students because they would get a chance to get out of the classroom for a little time. They might engage more. Some social issues to keep in mind. Um, Access to inappropriate content online and other um, system integrity areas of liability in the online behavior of students have led to authorized use policies being put in place, which address these issues and concerns and put some rules around it. There are also parents who may not want their child being exposed to certain things. So as a result, we have limited access in a lot of schools based on what is appropriate and inappropriate. But depending on what you deem inappropriate, it may be subject to scrutiny under the pretense that it is infringing on students' freedom of information and freedom of speech. So definitely make sure to monitor and put blocks on inappropriate things, but make sure that students still have access to the wide variety of information that is available. Cyberbullying. Bullying previously consisted of three categories: physical, verbal, and social. But with the rise of technology came the rise of cyberbullying. And this can be specific with the bully being known and having a specific victim and targeting them, or the bully or bullies can be unknown and anonymous, which can further foster feelings of hopelessness for students. They may feel trapped. I have a link to the stopbullying.gov website where they give a little bit more detail and insight into cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is bullying that takes place using electronic technology. So this can include computers, social media, cell phones, tablets, any kind of communication that is online is fair game for cyberbullying. Um, Kids who are being cyberbullied are also often being bullied in person as well. But cyberbullying is a little worse because it can happen all hours of the day, any time of the day. As long as the student has access to the internet or technology, they have access to this harassment as well. The cyberbullying also is a little bit worse because it can be anonymous. The bullies can choose to remain unknown, and this makes it a little bit harder for teachers and administration to find the culprit because they're anonymous, which could make the bullying last even longer. So some symptoms or signs of children who are being cyberbullied are the use of alcohol and drugs. Students may start skipping school. Because they're experiencing bullying in person as well, they may be unwilling to attend school. Their grades can lower as well as their self-esteem, and this can lead to health problems. So cyberbullying, as I stated earlier, has risen with the rise of technology as well. In 2013, 2014, the school crime supplement indicates that 7% of students in grades 6 to 12 experienced cyberbullying. And in 2013, the Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance Survey finds that 15% of high school students, grades 9 to 12, were electronically bullied in the last year. But one positive about this is that with the rise of technology, there is also an increase in the means to stop it. There's also an increase in research. So now people are gaining more knowledge on the subject and are better able to pinpoint it and respect to it. So some tips for teachers, again, always closely monitor technology use and ensure that students are using it for the appropriate reasons at the appropriate time. Monitor messages that are going between students and ensure that it is a friendly and safe environment for everyone. Also foster an environment of open communication in your classroom so that students feel more safe and more comfortable coming to you if they feel that there's a problem, if they feel that they are being mistreated. They will be more likely to come to you if you have an open communication environment. Also keep a close relationship with the student's parents because You may not see what's going on in the classroom because you have a lot going on in other students, but parents will mostly know what's going on with their child. So if you have a close relationship with the parents, you'll be able to communicate with them, and they may be able to point out certain things that you may not be able to notice in the classroom. And these are my sources, and that is it.